The problem is when I'm usually dealing with a client, I'm answering it very specific to their
them.
needs.
Exactly.
And in this way, you're
It's
having
general.
to ask to answer it generally, right?
And you can kind of, that's Trish said that a couple of times. I said, well, generally, and there's no real general in real estate. It's so crazy. Welcome to a TMB Q&A. This episode is part 2 of the most common questions we get asked from buyers. I'm Michael Thorne of Remax Lifestyles Realty and the Thorne Maisie Bongers Real Estate Group in Langley, BC. I'll be asking the questions today, and answering them will be my amazing business partners, Jordan Maisie and Tricia Bongers. All right, part 2, buyer questions.
Okay.
What is pre-qualified versus pre-approved?
Pre-approved means that you've gone through a process. All of the detailed information they require, like your T1s and backup letter from your employer, etc. There's a whole list that your broker will ask for.
And pre-qualify is just a rough idea. Yeah, you should be able to afford something like this.
Yeah, you made a phone call and, somebody's kind of taken your general information. And obviously, there's been no credit checks done yet or anything like that to verify all the documentation that you have, what you've said.
A buyer really wants to be pre-approved before they get out and start looking at homes.
Correct.
Should I go with a fixed or variable mortgage?
Oh, that's a mortgage broker question.
It is a mortgage broker question.
I would ask them because there's so many different factors that come into play when it comes to mortgages, whether it's fixed or variable. Variables definitely can be an advantage, just following the market. And if it starts to go up, the rates, then lock in. But again, mortgage broker question.
And in real simple terms, the terms of them are the expression. Fixed means during the time that you have that mortgage, that term, 5 years, the mortgage rate is fixed. It will not increase or decrease. Where a variable is that it's varied based.
It can go up and down.
To your benefit or to your expense. So that's the difference. Because we don't know when the people will be watching this, let's not talk about this last example or the current rates. But in general, what does a mortgage stress test mean and what does it do?
Well, the stress test basically is there to see how well you can manage your mortgage payments over a longer period of time.
So the current rate might be, let's say, hypothetically 3%, and that's what your actual mortgage will be. But they want to make sure if you can qualify for something higher, 5%. So if things change a little bit, we know that you can still service your debt.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a deposit and a down payment?
The deposit is a portion of the down payment. The deposit is taken at the time that you've actually firmed up an agreement between yourself and another party. And then it's held in trust until that agreement comes to the date where the funds have to be paid out. The down payment then is the balance of the funds that your lender would want you to put in before they will fund.
So you put in a $10,000 deposit at the time that the sold sticker went on the house to show good faith. Your bank wants a $30,000 down payment. You would show up with a $20,000 difference plus any other expenses.
Closing costs for the lawyer. Yeah.
How much money do I need for a down payment?
Oh, it depends on what you are qualified for. If you have less than 20% down, there's different rules from CMHC for mortgage insurance. And if you have over 20% down, then you don't need necessarily the insurance, but you still have to qualify under the new stress test laws.
How much do I have to pay an agent to help me buy a house?
Well, I guess it depends on the scenario. Most of the time, the seller is actually paying the buyer's broker or agent to find that buyer a home and come right on that particular property. So we actually get paid by the seller if you, as a buyer, were to go and write on that property. We do have it, though, where you would end up paying us directly if it was maybe a for sale by owner. You went and knocked on the door and the seller said, well, I'm not paying any fees. There are options where we work in that commission into the transaction itself.
In most cases, we are able to help a buyer purchase a property and represent them and be compensated by someone other than the buyer.
Yes.
in most cases. That brings us to the end of this episode of TMB Q&A, answering some of the most frequent questions we get asked from buyers. If you have a question you'd like us to answer, you can leave it into the comments section, or you can send it to us at hello@tmbrealestate.com. Answering the questions today is the brilliant Jordan Mazey and the thoughtful Trisha Bongers. I'm Michael Thorne. We'll see you in the next one. And remember, if you've got real estate questions, we've got answers.